Welcome
to the Two Travelers in Mexico.
So we're going to talk to you today about what our life has been like here in Mexico and what we see going on with regard to COVID-19 and self-isolation and all of that stuff. Now, things are starting to loosen up here a little bit. Mexico's on like what they call the stoplight system, which is red, which means you basically don't go anywhere. Orange, things are starting to loosen up somewhat, and capacities in restaurants are starting to open up.
Yellow is, I think, take caution.
Yellow is, take caution, and green is basically, it's wide open. So who knows when we're going to get the green. Like I say, every state in Mexico now is in the orange zone, so things are starting to open back up. And we are noticing more traffic on the street. We're noticing street vendors selling food and stuff starting to come back out. So it seemed like life is starting to kind of return to some sort of normalcy, or whatever the new normal is going to be here in Mexico. People, for the most part, they're paying attention to social distancing rules. We see people wearing masks. We see people wearing masks while they're the only person driving inside their car.
Do you do that?
Do you do that? We see people, people are starting to buy the combis again, and they're wearing masks. When you go to the store, there's, people basically insisting that you use hand sanitizer when you go into the store.
Yep.
A lot of them want you to have masks on. A couple of weeks ago, as an example, Costco was only allowing one person per family to go in.
Mm-hmm.
But that they seem to have eased up on that. Like I was saying before, we're seeing things open back up. We're seeing more street vendors on the street. Certainly, we live on a busy street, and we're seeing a lot more traffic.
Yeah, a lot more traffic is happening for sure.
A lot more people starting to go out to restaurants.
Some of the restaurants did not close down where we live. Some of them did, some of them did not. There is a Woolworths. You guys remember those? Here where we live, and most stores, like when we pay our telcel, when we go into Woolworths, you have to have a mask on. They'll only let one of us in, and they'll spray you with the hand sanitizer. So it's pretty limited in stores like that you go into. And then the telcel, I'm usually the one that goes in there and pays the bill. Mark will be waiting outside, but there's like a distancing thing that they have there also in the telcel store.
And for a while, they weren't letting anybody over the age of 60 go in a telcel store either. But, Paulette and I are both 60. Paulette went in and they did not question her age. For me, they probably would have after looking at my gray hair. So the safe bet for us was to send her in.
So some people are wondering, how do we feel about staying in Mexico? Do we have any regrets about being here, not going back when this virus hit and the United States was telling citizens to come back?
Well, I personally have no regrets whatsoever.
Yeah, me either. None. Although I think we mentioned before in a previous video that a lot of Canadians and U.S. citizens and other people went back to their countries. The ones that were permanent, the ones that were temporary residency
yeah.
like us, they also went back to their own states. We chose to
stay here,
not do it. Yeah, I don't feel any kind of, I don't feel like Mexico is like a place where it's going to be worse than being in the United States or something like that on this COVID. Do you?
No, not at all.
So talking about the COVID virus in Mexico in general, there's been 185,000 cases reported, and there's been 22,000, I'm rounding it off, 22,600 deaths, and that's throughout Mexico. Cause there's like, what, 31, 32 states?
32 states.
Within Mexico.
Including Mexico City.
Yeah, and Mexico City.
They had 38,000
Yeah, 38.
reported cases and how many?
I think it was 5,000.
5,000 deaths.
5,000 something on deaths in
Yeah.
Mexico City.
In the state of Morelos, there were almost 20,000 cases.
No, 2,000.
Or, sorry, 2,000 cases and 355 deaths.
Yeah, and in Oaxaca,
Oaxaca.
there was, and I'm just rounding the numbers off here, so don't, say, oh, she's wrong. In Oaxaca, there was approximately 3,500 cases, and there was approximately 400 deaths.
Mhm. So in the state of Michoacan, where we live, there
Mhm.
are nearly 4,000 cases reported, and a little over 300 deaths.
And in Baja, I read that there was a little over 7,200 cases. And there was, what did I say for the deaths?
1,600.
Yeah, a little over 1,600 deaths in Baja from this coronavirus. So those are the statistics that I've looked up lately, and those are the numbers that I found.
Right, keeping in mind of the date, which is June 23rd.
Mhm.
Of course, the numbers in Mexico still seem to be going up. So we'll see where they crest at. Hopefully,
Yeah, and those are
Going down.
reported again. Remember
Yeah.
that, reported. There's probably been people in rural areas that have died that never, sought help.
yeah. Or they just got sick but then recovered themselves without going to the hospital.
True.
I don't feel like anything as bad is gonna happen. Mexico is our home now. We don't think of
Mhm.
the United States as our home. We have family there, but Mexico is our home.
Yeah,
So
yes.
why would we leave our home?
Exactly, and so that never, like Mark said, that never even crossed our
Mhm.
mind to go back to the US.
Mhm.
It just didn't, and that happened in March 30th, I think, Mexico declared that everybody's staying in their home and all that
Right,
stuff.
the health emergency,
Right,
yeah.
so that's March, the end of March, so that's April, May, June, whatever it is, 23rd, I think is
Mhm.
today. We don't feel any different than we did before when this whole thing happened, and,
Mhm. Yeah.
like Mark said, this is our home, this is how we think of it,
Right.
we don't,
Absolutely, we feel compassion for the Mexican people because it's, for a lot of them, it's a struggle here anyway. The people that are out, the street vendors, that are out selling stuff on the street at stoplights, or, even the food stands that just show up on the streets and stuff. Those all had to close down. Well, those people lost their livelihood. So we try to feel compassion for those people, and like we say, when we do go out to a restaurant, we try to tip a little bit more. Sometimes, at stoplights, we bought stuff that we didn't necessarily need, but, it just seemed like the right thing to do.
right.
For
And,
us.
like, sometimes you might kind of question some pricing or whatever, and we really haven't been doing that.
Mhm.
Like, if we're getting the gringo pricing, we haven't,
We haven't let that bother us.
we haven't let that bother us, because we know that it's really difficult.
We love Mexico, we love being here, even though we are basically just inside our house most days. But when we have had to go out, we just love being here. We love the people. They're always so kind and friendly and gentle with us, and always trying to help us, whether it's get directions or just fumble through our Spanish. They're
Yeah.
kind and patient and understanding, and really very loving people, I believe. At least that's what I felt from them.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we've had any bad encounters
No,
at all with anybody being rude or
no.
anything like that. We just love being here. We hope that the economy does pick up soon, for sure. There's a lot of areas like Quintana Roo.
Yeah, that are starting
That's
to reopen.
yeah, but it's a
Yeah.
big touristy area. I
Mhm.
mean, they make a lot of money off of tourists, the
Yeah.
state of Quintana Roo. It has started opening as of this month.
Mhm.
And I think they are getting some tourists in, but the hotels can only have like a third capacity of what they normally would. And
Well, it's hotels, restaurants, some of the beaches are starting to open up.
but they got to keep their social
But, yeah.
distancing at restaurants too.
Yeah.
Tulum is
Yeah.
there, Cancun is there, Maya Riviera is there. You know, they make all their money off of the
Oh,
tourists,
tourists.
and so
Yeah.
those hotels, I think there's like 41 hotels or something, and they closed down, so all the workers are out, you know, jobs, and you know, they don't have the unemployment
Mhm.
system like we do. You know,
In
they
the
did.
United States.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, in the United States, we do. Here in Mexico,
Yeah.
yeah, they did. They don't have that sort of thing at all. So they have to figure out what they're going to do and make ends meet while all this is going on for the
Mhm.
last 3.5
Three-
months or whatever.
3 months coming
almost
up.
4 months,
So,
right? In May, or May, March, April, May, June. Yeah, I guess 3 months.
Mhm. Time flies when you're retired and you don't have to keep track of days.
You
At
do
least in my
nothing.
case.
The days all run together,
Yeah.
right? Day and nights, because
Mhm.
there's not too many places to go. But, you know, I gotta say something here. I am super, super proud of Mexico. I really am, because I had a friend tell me that they had heard that, you know, when things got pretty tough, that a lot of the locals were just gonna, you know, start stealing and
Yeah.
whatever to provide for their families. But you know what? I am so proud of them. We didn't know. We heard that and we weren't sure.
Mhm.
You know, were people gonna start like robbing people, or what was gonna be happening? And I mean, I know that we're in our own little world right here. We're not traveling around, so we don't see everything that's going on. But you know, I can say that here, there's been none of that. There's
Yeah.
been none of that. I
Yeah.
am just so, so proud of Mexico.
But the whole COVID-19 thing, no one has resolved, you know, that we can see the crime level hasn't risen up or anything like that. You know, Paulette and I go out on the street, we walk to a restaurant the occasional time that we go. And we're,
Parks and stuff like
yeah,
that.
we don't feel any fear or anything like that.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
So,
I mean, nothing has changed for
Mhm.
us at all. You know,
Yeah.
even when we come home from restaurants or whatever, wherever we've been, and it's,
Mhm.
you know, dark out, it's 9:30 at night or 10 o'clock, we've never felt uncomfortable about that.
no, not in the least.
Yeah,
So we take the normal precautions that we would even if we were in the United States. I
True.
mean, you just, your environment.
be aware of your surroundings, you know, pay attention. But like you said, that's something that I would do no matter where I was.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but as far as like a fear factor coming in there or something like that, not at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the kindness and generosity of the Mexican people is amazing. I mean, we were, Paulette, you know, she's got a bump on her knee that she wanted to have looked at. So today we walked up the block and there's a guy that has a small office right next to a pharmacy, and so no appointment
doctor's office.
necessarily.
Not just the guy. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a doctor.
Yeah. And he took us right in and looked at us, and he didn't really speak much English, and our Spanish is not great yet, but we fumbled through it, and he took his time with us and was
Mhm.
patient, and, you know, eventually we figured out what needs to be done, so we'll go take care of that.
How have you guys been handling this?
Yeah, how are you doing?
You know, like I said, here I think it's the same thing that's happening in the United States. I think Mexico pretty much takes whatever the United States does and runs with it. And although they weren't as strict
Mm-hmm.
as some governors in the United States
Yeah,
that I won't name
yeah.
were, but I mean, here, like you would see, how many people, more than half maybe wearing masks.
Yeah, probably 50 to 70%.
Yeah, wearing
75%.
masks. Now I don't see it as much. I mean, they're still wearing masks, don't get me wrong, and still wearing it in their car by themselves, but not as much as it was in April and May as it is now.
Yeah.
And more people are out on the street that we see walking around, more cars, that sort of stuff. So are you guys seeing the same thing pretty much happening where you're at, or, you know, what's your take on all of this?
Yeah. Let us know what's going on in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, tell us, you know, leave us leave us a comment, like what state you're in or what town you're in or whatever, and what's going on there, and
Yeah.
you know what the plan is in the next month or so where you're living. Guess that's it for now, guys. We just wanted to catch you up on what was going on here and our thoughts on being in Mexico during this whole thing.
Feel free to leave your comments below, and we try to respond to everyone.
Yeah, whether it's on Facebook, you can
Facebook.
leave comments there too on Facebook. I
Yeah.
try to post different things about Mexico, and then I try to post my rentals once a week on different areas within Mexico.